kind of a short champion pool issue. You know, you have an off-roll support player. You're like, let's make sure we get a good pick for them. So maybe not the optimal draft scenario for FPX, but one that secures them a support that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, so Alistar, a very early lock in here for Xiye, but as you're saying, I totally understand it. You're going to be on a limited player here in terms of champion pool for support, so it makes a lot of sense. Varus taken off the board here. And LGD will answer by banning away this Silas. Xiye trying to make sure that he gets a good matchup in the mid lane.
Yeah, for sure. Want to make sure he has a favorable matchup he can apply pressure in, limiting Doinb's champion options. Whereas FPX is completely targeted in the AD carry pool right now. Varus and Ezreal taking off the cards. Obviously, there's still a fair few picks available. No real AD carries banned before this point, but for LGD, still an option if they want to ban away a mid lane. It could even throw a ban away towards top lane, but pretty much have a wide range of choice right now.
So I'm trying to think what I would do if I was in the shoes of FPX here. I was about to say the Samira, because like, look, you got a support player that is an AD carry player. How do you win that lane? You just run a kill lane, right? You ban away the Ezreal, you ban away the things that can be safe, and you just run something like Alistar Samira. But the Samira's banned away, as I was trying to say it, but maybe LWX brings something else aggressive out. Kai'Sa's still available. Hovering the Orianna here could mean that this is a Viego in the jungle.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's leaning towards that point. I think if they were going to take a jungler that had prioritized it earlier, like a different jungler. So likely going to be Tian on this, well, is going to be at this point on this Viego. The Orianna provides some AP. Obviously, that's one of the things. If you don't have the Diana, you kind of need a heavy AP source in the mid lane. And Orianna can do okay in LeBlanc, a little bit vulnerable for ganks, but up against the Diana LeBlanc, I think you're okay. And LGD, they're going to pick up the Kalista, which, you know, Alistar's pretty good in Kalista, because you can't really kite it. It's like kite his combo. He's just going to land that. It's pretty much guaranteed, but it's very much established. LGD want to apply some pressure in this bot lane, and so far their composition has a lot of early agency.
Now, I'm just trying to have a look for LWX's champion pool here, because I'm wondering if he plays the Draven. He has locked it in. I don't think we've ever seen this from LWX in his competitive history, if I'm not mistaken, if my eyes don't deceive me here. I don't think we've ever seen LWX on Draven before.
I don't think this is going to be his Draven. So we actually saw earlier, LWX had played a couple of Alistar games prior to this series. So I think despite the fact that Xiye came in as a support, you know, he's marked in that role. I think that's because of how they substituted it. But I think they are going to be putting the rookie on the Draven and put LWX on the Alistar.
They've baited and outsmarted us. They've repositioned in the draft, and it's completely blown my mind. But you're right. We're going to see the debut performance, bringing a Draven to the stage. What a way to make an entrance into the LPL. I'm excited. I'm ready to see what they can bring to the table. And guess what? They're against Mark and Kramer, who realistically have been criticized massively for a weak laning phase. This is not the part of the game that they strive on. Now against LWX and the new kid on the block as well coming in. It's going to be Xiye on this Draven. I'm excited to see what FPX can do here on the bot side.
Yeah, and I like the lane matchup. I mean, if the enemy picks Kalista, you can take like a defensive pick and accept we're going to get bullied. Or you take the Draven and you're like, I can answer you out. Short trades, the Axis just completely outvalue the Kalista. And anything longer, the Alistar can easily combo and follow up. Draven can use his sort of stand aside to create some space away from the enemy support. So if they're playing well, I think FPX bot lane in for a decent spot here. So I like the picks.
We'll have to see how it works out. FPX with this rookie roster coming on in. We got XiaoLaohu in the top side. We've got Xiye in the bottom lane alongside LWX here. LWX playing support, which I don't know if he's ever played support in his career. I don't know if there were any crazy roster swaps in the past. It's perfectly possible. But if not, then technically he's a rookie coming in this role at very least. Which is tenuous at best, but I'm going to run with it.
I love the stretches you make.
Yeah.
It's just,
look,
you find an angle.
It's good. It's good for the joints to stretch regularly. So I try and do it as much as possible. Let's talk about these compositions though. Let's start with LGD. because I feel like theirs is pretty cut and dry. It's sort of similar to what we had from OMG, right? You want to go in and you want to blow them up.
Yeah, so really strong team fight combo from the top side. Bot side of the map, mid and bot. I feel like you ideally would have wanted to find a laning advantage, but the Draven kind of puts a spanner in the works there. FPX, I think, are a lot more comfortable with the front to back, you know? Really strong front line. Great tools like the Orianna Shockwave combo. And realistically, Draven Orianna is a stronger backline than the Kalista and LeBlanc. So I think FPX have a bit more versatility. LGD, it's kind of critical on landing those big combos, but they do have great options for picks.
I'm not sure if I missaw that, but it looked like Kramer actually went for a rend onto the side of FPX there, which is a very long cooldown early on in the laning phase, but I don't think it's going to be punished for now. At least Tian moving up towards the top side to try and set up his new top laner. Fearness in trouble here. XiaoLaohu doesn't even need to go for the stun. Fearness, I'm not sure that was the optimal flash right there. The slow comes in from the red buff, and it's a first blood for Tian. XiaoLaohu and Tian both flash to make the kill happen.
Yeah, really good start and a bit of creative pathing coming out here from Tian. So he actually started top side, looped round and came in level 2. So in fairness to Fearness, you kind of don't expect those plays. It's not typical. Normally you're waiting for that level 3 point. If the jungler starts on top side, you usually think you're okay, but definitely a creative one. Now this does give a window over to Shadow. He's invading this blue. And because Tian reset, he didn't opt to go into Shadow's blue side jungle. He does end up being caught out a little bit here. He's trying to chase Shadow away, but won't find him. So essentially did end up losing a camp of that in the full clear. And you can see Shadow can now head up towards his top side, grab that scuttle uncontested. He's got Prior on both lanes, and then clear back through his jungle. So a bit costly for Tian ultimately, but he does reward his top laner heavily off that play.
And look, at the end of the day, it's not just about the jungle matchup here for Tian. It's about setting these rookie lanes up for success. Remember, we've got XiaoLaohu up in that top side. This is his first ever LPL game. So for Tian, I think he's happy to set himself slightly behind in order to set his top laner ahead. And you can see Shadow going to be clearing away the vision there. After getting the crab, should be able to get these chickens for himself as well. And down in the bottom side as well, we've got Xiye on this Draven. Huge lead right now in terms of the CS and Lwx. It's like, yay, Freezer, nothing today, sunshine. Heads him back into the tower.
Yeah, so good start already from the FPX bot lane, and I like that Shadow is punishing Tian even more. He could have just gone back into his own jungle, but he's denying as much as possible, and now he heads into his own jungle. He's got a ton of camps available to clear, and Tian is kind of limited in options, and that's the downside here. You put yourself in a position where you don't have too many choices other than to gank, although he is looking for an invade window. But I love this roam here from Mark. He's moving to defend his jungler's camps, and if Tian doesn't get out soon, he's going to end up being punished.
You can see this was a recall from Kramer. I don't know why we're getting a replay of that one. Tian going to be forced out of the topside jungle as Tian just has to retreat to his own side once more. Starting to already see a huge gap between the two junglers. And remember, this is Diana. Diana's usually meant to be pretty slow, pretty weak in the early game. Lwx maybe finds an opportunity. Just going to headbutt Kramer away in the end here. As the CSD going to be ever so slightly advantageous for Xiye so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's just beautifully played, and it's kind of interesting coming off the series against RNG, where we saw Wei kind of do a similar thing to LGD. There's just such a good support system. Mark roaming up there to cover the camps, really important. And, you know, we saw Tian go for that invade, get forced away, go to his Krogs, clear his Krogs, and that's it. There's nothing left alive in his jungle. He's waiting on respawns right now. He's in such an uncomfortable position. And on the other side, Shadow's just been clearing whenever he wants. If he wants to do a camp, there's one available for him to do. He's now heading to his bot side where his Krogs are available. And still, only just in a bit of time is the red buff spawning for Tian. But he's got nothing else to do before then. So he's just been wasting so much time. And this is all off that early cheese gank, which, you know, it was an advantage for XiaoLaohu, but it hasn't really cemented much in the top lane. Fearness is holding out okay.
Yeah, it does feel like maybe it wasn't worth it in the end. Tian gonna maybe try and make something happen mid, but it's a LeBlanc with flash available. I really doubt anything can happen here, so he's just gonna go through Xiye actually jumping forward, gets a bunch of damage onto Tian, who is level 4 to the level 5 of Shadow right now as well. Shadow is going to be more than happy to contest this one. You see Doinb moving in. Shockwave onto Shadow. Tian follows up. Huge damage onto the enemy jungler here as Doinb looks for more on Xiye as well. And this will be a 1 Scuttle Crab for FPX. Nicely done by the squad.
Yeah, pretty big in all honesty and very important. Tian went mid, helped get priority for Doinb so he could move up to secure that, and XiaoLaohu also moving down to collapse and pick up the scuttle. It seems like a small thing, but it actually makes a big difference because Shadow wasted a lot of time trying to contest that. But they are looking for Doinb now.
He's going to be okay. Lwx saves the day on this Alistar. He knows exactly what he would want an Alistar to be doing for him, so he does it for Doinb. Now Xiye trying to finish some kills off to answer, but they're not going to find anything. It's just going to be the 1 for 0, but maybe Tian can be the savior. Xiye does have flash available, so they're not going to be able to close the gap. Tian just has to settle for the fact that his red buff is finally up, so he can finally go for that instead.
Yeah, things looking better now. Camps have respawned. He's going to have a bit of a smoother time from here on out. Still a deficit, but all in all, pretty okay. And LGD able to pick up that kill onto the Alistar into the pocket of Shadow. He's now at the level 6 point. It's a big spike when he was able to pick up the Hextech Alternator earlier. So Dana feeling pretty ready to fight. Normally we say at level 6 is where you get a lot more agency in those skirmishes. And I think LGD pretty happy with the early game, how it's gone so far. But this bot lane is still at a bit of a deficit. We've seen Xiye able to do well on the Draven, and I'm always looking towards that cash-in point.
Yeah, always going to be a moment where Draven just takes over the game. Xiye, our eyes are on him, starting with a shit. Fearness, man, come on.
Shadow's like, I'm going to loop round the vision, so I don't, and the Fearness is like, yeah, whatever, dude. And now they're being contested on it, so what was the point?
No, Tian gets it, Fearness. Fearness, you've ruined everything, mate. Tian's going to try and flash away, try to survive this one. He's low on HP and taken down by Kramer. And that's going to be a kill onto XiaoLaohu as well. So, yeah, they managed to
maybe
steal
he
the crowd.
wanted the contest.
I'm not sure it was worth it.
Yeah, maybe Fearness wanted the contest. He was ready to rumble, but you know, I just found it hilarious the effort Shadow has taken to not get spotted, and then his top laner just wanders in. But ultimately, FPX caught off guard a little bit there. Do manage to steal away the Herald, but they pay for it heavily, and it just feels like they didn't have the numbers there initially. I want to give credit here to Mark, who has done a really good job of being where he needs to be on the map. So we see that replay. Obviously just gets stolen by Tian there. No smite available for Shadow. Obviously wasn't hoping to be contested, but Mark, he's already here. We actually see Kramer there as well. A very early rotation, and it just guarantees the play going in LGD's favor. And I just think it's good setup, you know. You're moving quickly, you're being there first, you're making sure that when you go for these plays, you go for the Herald, you have the backup. And despite the fact they lose the objective, they come out ahead with those kills.
Really good stuff coming out from LGD, and you'd expect that Mark should be the better support, right? You'd expect that he should be the one that's better at roaming around the map. That's the big difference between supports and AD carries, right? I think the hardest thing is not the mechanics, it's not the laning phase, it's how you roam, how you get vision, how you control neutral objectives as a support, and that should be the difference that we see between Mark and Lwx across the course of today.
And I think that's the thing, is like, I am certain Lwx has played plenty of support games in solo queue. Most players have, you know, you don't always get your main role. You normally go to the same lane that you're in. So I'm certain he has experience playing the role and the champion, but it's very different taking it into competitive setting. And as you said, those roam timings, knowing when you need to be on the map, that is the difference between a solo queue support and a competitive support, or just a support who has greater understanding than just the mechanics and the laning. And it's where Mark is finding this edge so far. Still yet to get a kill for this Draven, 218 stacks. So it's kind of like a prime point for both of these teams. Does the Draven get the kill first, or do you shut it down? Because it can drastically change the course of a fight just purely off that.
Yeah, nice wave clear coming out from XiaoLaohu, but it's not going to matter. The Moonfall comes in. Fearness there to CC up as Shadow takes him down. Xiye was even behind the tower as well. Doinb and Tian are here, but they're a bit late to the party. There's not much going to be able to happen there, and they're just going to have to retreat back to the mid lane once more. It feels like consistently we're seeing that FPX are just a little bit behind the play, and we're getting towards a 2,000 gold lead here for LGD.
it feels like LGD really learned from their series against RNG, where it was kind of a mirrored situation here, where RNG were ahead in the plays. RNG were making the moves. They were fast on these plays, setting them up, and just better on the map. But here, LGD have been very proactive at finding these windows. And FPX, they're just trying to react, it feels like. They're not the ones setting things up. They will, though, throw down this Herald mid lane, go for the 2-plate play, but not really going to be able to do much more off the back of that.
Yeah, maybe 3 plates if they're lucky here, but I don't think it's going to quite be able to get the extra auto in, so it won't be able to finish that one off. But at least Doinb is going to be getting a good chunk of that gold. Had to go for Doran's, going for Merc Boots early on in this game because he knows that there's a lot of CC on the side of LGD, so having to play this one safe for now, but he'll scale into things later on as the Orianna.
Yeah, I think as well when you're up against a mid, an AP mid and jungle, it's a really good buy, just it gives you value against both. And particularly on something like the Orianna, where there is some concerns about pick potential from the LeBlanc Diana combo, it just gives you that extra element of safety. You're not quite as scared walking through the jungle a little bit, but as you said, still looking to scale up. And this FPX roster, they do have some strong scaling elements, but the big sort of point for me is this Draven, because if it's very different. If you get a Draven who's like an item up thanks to shutdown, or ends up behind in gold, it can make such a massive difference. And they do want that secondary carry coming in for the team. So do want to see a bit more proactivity from FPX playing around that bot lane. For now, though, he's picked up this Essence Reaver. So a lot of burst damage on those spinning axes available.
And I think this is a really important thing we've got to mention about this Draven as well. With FPX already having the first Drake is, especially while you're spiking on things like the Essence Reaver, which I will just say, I really wish that they would swap the overlay around so we could just have Draven in the AD carry slot, because trying to compare CS is hurting my brain. But one of the big things about Kalista, one of the reasons that you lock a Kalista in is playing for priority on the Drakes. Against a Draven, you can't really do that because Draven is just as strong in the early phase, can fight for Drakes just as well.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's a big reason we're seeing a lot of these AD carries come in. Draven did get some minor buffs. Well, I say minor. There was a small in terms of numbers, but big in terms of they buffed his axe damage. But overall, the reason we're seeing more of these picks is just in this meta, having early agency as an AD carry is so key. And both of these AD carries can spike with one item, can be relevant in these skirmishes and duels. And normally, Kalista has that edge, but I'm going to hold that thought. We're seeing a fight.
Might have been caught here. Lwx doing a good job. Shockwave and Moonfall both come through. Shadow trying to finish Doinb off. Ignite is ticking, but he survives for now and manages to shield out against the Crescent Strike. In comes Xiye to cash in on the stacks. And they're fat stacks, let me tell you that, as he goes down towards the bottom lane once more. FPX have just closed the gold gap.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a massive amount capitalized on that from the Draven. And you know what that scenario was? That was a Merc Treads difference, because Doinb survived for so long, able to get out on that fight, and then the rest of the team able to respond. And again, it's still FPX responding to these plays, but they get a massive answer, and the Draven cash-in is so vital for this game. Right now, we can see there's like a 1,400 gold lead between the AD carries, pretty much off the CS discrepancy, but just that major cash-in being such a factor.
I'm not entirely sure how much it was, but I feel
Hopefully
like it was
replay.
like, I want to say it was 600 gold, but I'm not entirely certain. I don't want to commit to that one just yet. See, Doinb, I'm pretty sure he gets a corrupting potion heal to save him at the end.
Yeah, the shield comes in. Oh, that was a heal from Xiye actually to keep him alive. And I didn't get to see it because Lwx was in the way, so I didn't see it again. Money, that's how much you got.
It's a lot of gold. A lot of gold. A lot of gold
Several.
coming in. Look at the difference. We've got 1,200 gold between the two AD carries at this point. Shadow again gets smited away from. Tian is on point with his smites today. Grabs the crab. Now TPs from both top laners. Lwx might be caught out of position here. Still has his passive, his ultimate, sorry. Renekton caught on the front line here. Has a lot of sustain though. Flashes out to safety. How does he get away with that one? And now onto the rest of the fight. And LGD again taken apart. I cannot believe it. FPX with this rookie squad are setting Xiye up to be the super carry for once. And this will be a second Drake to boot.
Xiye's just farming LGD at this point. We're talking about the cash in. He's just getting stacks on stacks on stacks. This Draven's going to be hyper fed. And again, LGD upped into the fight. They feel a little bit scattered. They're not decisive. We talked about that big Diana Sett combo. It doesn't come in, and then they are answered in force. Lwx on this Alistar. I mean, he's looking good.
Yeah, Lwx knows how to play the Alistar. That is for sure. And look, it's not been about vision and stuff just yet. Fearness goes in. Gonna get the showstopper underneath the tower. That's the shutdown taken. Fearness grabs the gold for that one. Now Xiye looks to get onto Tian, but their Heartbreaker over the wall should be safe on this one. The movement speed from the Scuttlecraft makes sure he's out.
We'll be able to get away, but unfortunate about losing the shutdown on that Draven. Fortunately, he had obviously just cashed in before that, so not too much of a concern in terms of lost stacks, but we'll get that replay. And this fight feels very scattered. Ultimately, it's a slow start. The TP forced them to back away, but they overcommit onto the Renekton in this situation, and it's just prime opportunity for Doinb to get this big shockwave onto Shadow here and Mark. The follow-up comes in from the Draven, and then Lwx is not done. Flash combo on the Alistar, able to keep up with the Kalista and get that stun. Tian as well finds a great hook when he's in the Nautilus, and just really stellar play coming out from FPX in these fights. It feels like LGD knew what they were doing in the early skirmish, knew what they were doing in the early game, knew what they were setting up for, found the advantages in their lanes, but then when it came to these team fights, just seemed lost in comparison.
Yeah, and we do see Shadow is going to be able to get a Herald for himself. It's traded for a lot of pressure on this bottom side, but FPX not going to try and overstay for the tier 2 tower. I think they're just going to go for one more wave and then go for the reset themselves. Tian going to head over to help with the wave. This Fearness will grab a tower in this top side. That is LGD's first tower of the game. And it looks like Doinb and Tian were going to look for a little bit more, but Xiye does come down and answers that one alongside Mark in the end. They're buying time for the tier 1 in that mid lane to go down. Herald going to be dropped on the top side, I think, here. This should be a tier 2 in the top lane, taken by LGD. In fact, they didn't even have to use Herald.
Yeah, so I mean, it's huge. And remember, this is a lot more gold on the current patch. That's why we saw Tian and Doinb so focused on trying to get that tier 2. Obviously, the factor is allowing the rest of the team to get that mid tier 1, but also the gold makes them a lot more valuable prize. Because of that, LGD get a big cash influx, but overall, FPX still ahead, and getting that mid tier 1, pretty vital in terms of establishing map control, being able to push that vision line deeper. So definitely still an advantage over to them, but LGD finding good windows to answer. And as you said, the Herald's still in pocket. They're getting control over this bot side of the map. They push that wave in deep top, so they have a little bit of time before they have to answer. I think they're just going to sack the tier 1. They really don't care. They can now move bot lane, take this tower here, and with the Herald, they may even look for a second. There's no one in position to defend this on the side of FPX. If they get a second tier 2, that's a ton of money.
It is, and there's no TPs available for FPX either. They're just going to keep pushing for this one. You can see a couple of recalls from Jingy and from Lwx, but they're going to be too late for this one. Xiye is there to finish this one off alongside Mark. Massive influx from gold for LGD here, as they'll take down 2 tier 2 towers before the 20-minute mark here. They haven't even got the tier 1 in the mid lane, but they've annihilated both side lanes.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we often talk about how taking the mid tier 1 allows you to sort of go deeper, lean into the side lanes, threaten these other towers. But taking a tier 2 in the side lane does mean you can apply more pressure to that tier 1. You can push waves really deep, and then you can reset and apply more pressure and numbers to the other side of the map, and particularly to that tier 1 mid. So definitely a window of opportunity for LGD. And I think, considering they were struggling in the fights, they found a good window to answer FPX and keep that gold pretty close. They didn't contest them head on, but they actually traded up in terms of total towers.
So, Aux, riddle me this. We've just seen LGD outplay FPX on the map twice in a row to get tier 2 towers. Theoretically, that's a lot of gold. They have more towers on the map taken than FPX do. They have even kills. How come they're 1,000 gold down right now? Is that just Draven passive?
Well, Draven also mid lane CS. Doinb's pretty far ahead, 40 CS lead over Xiye. But yeah, I mean, Draven passive, fair bit of value right now, thanks to getting, you know, essentially 3 kills in the first one, had a big amount. But basically, it's mid and AD carry where we're seeing the significant differences between these two teams, which is why FPX are still ahead. But all things considered, considering you have that CS gap, the Draven passive giving the extra value, and you're still only like less than 1,000 gold behind, LGD have handled this pretty well. And I think what we've seen so far in this game is smarter play from LGD, but FPX have been better in the fight. So we're setting up for a fight. FPX are looking.
Here's the pick coming out. Tian going in. There's a Whirling Death already through. Shadow's the target. Shockwave only onto one. Fearness gets out, gets the Haymaker, but the damage is there. FPX looking to clean house. Xiye has to be the carry. Good knockup coming out from Lwx. Fearness taken down. The clone of Xiye falls as well. The rest of the squad trying to escape. Kramer, though, is getting chased down. Flash away from the stand aside. And another fight going the way of FPX.
And it just repeats itself. FPX win the fights, LGD win the map. And unfortunately, in the current meta, I'd rather be winning the fights right now. Xiye and Doinb just untouched there and doing a ton of damage. And they're now going to be able to secure this third dragon. It is a Cloud Soul, not the highest priority. But getting one this early, definitely going to be favorable towards them. And yeah, we get this replay. It just feels like Shadow not able to find much value. They're so split up in the initial fight. And it's kind of like LGD trying to play back when they want to be engaging. They want that Diana and the Sett going forwards. Because by kiting backwards like this, Xiye and Doinb are just unchallenged. And you can see them full HP in this fight, running forwards like this. It's not how LGD want the fights to go. Front to back favors FPX. And once more, they win out in those fights.
Feels brutal to watch here, especially if you're a fan of LGD, because realistically speaking, FPX are coming in with two brand new rookies stepping onto the fold. They've got XiaoLaohu, who's played one split with their academy roster back in spring. And now we've got Xiye stepping in, who's literally been with the organization for 2 weeks, and it's the first time he's even played in LDL, never mind LPL. He comes in, he's 3-1-3 on this Draven, and if there's one thing we always talk about with rookies in the LPL, it's the mechanics are not the problem. It's things like map play, things like coordination, the higher level stuff that you expect from the top teams in the LPL. That's where we'll see issues. Right now, it doesn't feel like FPX are having that significant issues with those either, because they've drafted this composition that can just run you down.
And I think that's why it makes such sense as well to have Xiye in the AD carry role rather than the support role, because AD carry, out of all the roles in the game, is the one that has the least difference between, you know, solo queue and competitive, or just even lower level competitive and higher level. Ooh. It's very much about those mechanics. And as I'm saying, the Shadow, he might just die.
Doinb is going to try and get the solo kill 1v4 here. Finally gets hooked by Mark. Whirling Death gets blocked. Mark happy to be the brick wall that keeps Shadow safe. And it has to be said, it feels like FPX at this point are just targeting Shadow, trying to remove him from the game. Good root comes out from Xiye, but no follow-up. And it means that FPX, they turn their eyes to Baron. Can they go for this? I'm not sure how that control ward spots that ward out. I feel like there's a wall in between that ward and that control, but whatever.
You ever seen the film Wanted with the curve of the bullets? It feels like that control ward was like curving the vision around the wall. A little bit of a scam on that one, but I think you're kind of right about the Shadow thing, and I actually like it because we saw this in Series 1, where we kept seeing Suning target Cream because he was a critical part of their engage. And here FPX are targeting Shadow, and even if you don't kill him, if he uses his ult or his Zhonya's just to survive, then this LGD engage combo off the Sett Diana doesn't function anymore. And as soon as that doesn't function, Doinb and Xiye are just free to rain havoc in these team fights and do a ton of damage. So as long as they can stop LGD from engaging, it's pretty clean sailing. And things are starting to look rough for LGD at this point in the game. They are falling pretty far behind. 2,000 gold right now. And with 2 minutes to go until the next dragon, they haven't won a fight yet. And they need to win this one, because if the soul goes over to FPX, or even if the fight goes badly, we could well see FPX just translating straight into a Baron.
Yep. And, you know, we always talk about Kalista Barons. Well, Draven ain't no slouch when it comes to the early damage either. Xiye still only on one item right now. He's headed towards a death cap as the second item, which is an amazing spike when you get it, but he's not there just yet. I'm hoping for his sake that he can get a reset off before this Drake comes up, and hopefully we'll have enough gold to finish that item off. If he does, he can be a massive threat towards the likes of Xiye, though. Could make this next fight very difficult for FPX.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I'd like to see is LGD have always been kind of like, well, either engaged on by FPX or approaching from one direction. You want a flank, ideally. You either want a flank or a big engage where Fearness dunks one of the frontliners into the backline, but this straight-on approach is just really been rough for them. Unfortunately, because they're late to the play, because FPX have more pressure, they don't have any vision in the area. They have one ward in the Dragon Pit, so they may be able to use that, but They don't have any TP flank wards for Fearness to use. I believe Xiye is just recalling now for the Rabadons, so a big spike there. But this is actually a very late reset coming out from LGD. If we look, 3 members just went for a recall with 30 seconds to go. You know, this doesn't leave much opportunity to try and contest this vision line that FPX has.
Do you know what this is? This is LGD saying we can't contest the vision. Even if we reset earlier, we're not going to win the brute force river. Like, sort of, the idea of the fight is going to go the way of FPX, right? So they just go, all right, we late reset. We get as many items as we can. And we go for the 5v5. Let's see if it's going to work out for them. They have no vision in the pit for now. As you can see, Mark moving forwards. Kramer looking for mid prior will crash the wave in, but I don't think FPX cares about that minion wave right now. They've got their eyes set on this Drake instead. 3,000 on the Drake. Will and death across the team here as everyone goes in. Moonfall onto a few members as everyone flashing out in different directions. Xiye taken down though. Xiye gets the kill. Tian buying space for the rest of his team as Kramer is on the front line. He's going to be taken out next, but the Ren stacked up. Can he finish off Lwx? Gets one and taken down himself. 3 down for LGD and FPX. It's not the cleanest fight, but it doesn't matter. They get themselves the soul.
Still managed to find the win and get the soul off the back of that. We saw LGD throw everything as you need to take him down, and the Draven dies, but there's still too much power on the side of FPX to carry through in the fight. It was a nice attempt, but just wasn't enough. And again, FPX went out in the team fights.
Really exceptional performance from FPX. Let's take a closer look because it felt like that was an incredibly messy team fight.
Yeah, very messy. We see the flank coming in from XiaoLaohu, but it's a bit late. The Moonfall comes in, but they're struggling to connect. But they do eventually get Xiye here, but they burn so much. They don't have tools to deal with this flanking Renekton. They don't have anything to shut down Tian. And eventually, Kramer has to settle with a trade for the Alistar. And it's just these frontline divers causing so much issue for the rest of the team. It feels like at this point, LGD only have so much budget, like in terms of damage, and they committed all of that to Xiye, and Kramer just didn't have anything left to single-handedly take out XiaoLaohu and Tian. So a better start for LGD, but still not optimal.
So misused budget. It's a project management issue coming out here from LGD. We'll see if they can get a new wave of staff in or something. 3 items, though, finished up now for Kramer, and he did survive a long time in that fight. Felt like he was one of the players to watch. Maybe with 3 items, it's possible for them. Xiye as well. No flash available this time around, so if Shadow can get another good Moonfall onto him, won't be quite as safe as he was in that first fight. But with the Soul, it is a Cloud Soul. Doesn't feel like it's quite a win condition for FPX.
No, I think it's kind of like a win more dragon. Like, you have more movement speed, but it doesn't drastically change your combat power outside of that. So, you know, you're rotating faster, you're more mobility to get into fights, but you're not exactly getting more damage, more shielding or anything like the other dragons. But yeah, I think Kramer's a pivotal piece for this LGD lineup because all the dive potential, all the backline threat is on the rest of the team. The sustained damage comes from Kramer, and him surviving is vitally important because I feel like if Kramer dies and Xiye dies, FPX are fine with that. Like, they have more carry through in the rest of the fight. But if Kramer can continue to live with Xiye down, there's a hope at least that he's going to be able to kite, going to be able to build up the damage and deal with the rest of FPX. But still, 2,500 gold lead for FPX. They dealt with their wave in the bot side, and it looks like they are grouping up to move towards this Baron area and try and get control. And it's up to LGD to try and mitigate this. Potentially look for a pick, because they have that pick thread with the LeBlanc. A lot of burst available with the Blighting Jewel, the Rabadons, and the Ludens. But FPX are just going to group up and clear the vision out.
Just hold that thought a sec there, Aux, because look at Doinb's inventory. He's already got 14 stacks of the Medjais and 3 other items. It's like, sure, Xiye has damage, but Doinb's got more. If he gets a big shockwave, this fight just ends. Yeah,
and Xiye has a GA, and you know, he's got an item above Kramer right now, so bit of a difference between the mid and ADs, but I feel confident that they're starting the fight.
They're just going to take this. I don't think Shadow can get here in time. Easy Baron taken. In comes Fearness, but it's been too late. Now the fight comes on through. Xiye gets in onto everyone, gets out with his life as well. Moonfall in, maybe it's enough. Doinb still just off on the side though, still going strong. Xiye can't go down. One more auto, looks for the lifesteal, falls to Kramer, but it should be traded here as Shadow will fall. It's a double, it's a triple for the Croc. XiaoLaohu, the baby tiger, coming in and learning how to roar.
And we're seeing the goal difference there that just was not enough to deal with FPX. It felt like the concepts were correct. They find this big engage from Fearness. The Moonfall is massive, but no one was going down. It was so slow. Xiye survived for such a massive amount of time, the Xiye helping, and they're able to win out the extended fight. Doinb got so much value, and talking of value, 24 stacks now on that Medjai's.
Yep, we got 24/7 on the Doinb, just like the LPL. Let's take another look as it was just a bit late from LGD.
Yeah, it was a big engage at the start, but any time between that initial engage allowed Xiye to heal up. And then he has the Xiye as well, so yes, Viego goes down, but we're seeing so much damage come out from XiaoLaohu. He's just doing monstrous work on this Renekton. And again, they have to deal with the Draven, but they just don't have answers to the rest of the team. Doinb was essentially untouched here, and you were talking about his items before that fight. I don't think he can afford for the Orianna to be untouched.
Doinb, the super carry himself, living up to his name, and it's so good to see the rookies popping off here for FPX. In the fights, that's where you can really utilize the strengths, the reasons that these players are on the LDL roster in the first place, right? This is a big opportunity for them individually, for both Xiye and XiaoLaohu, and they're both having fantastic games for themselves. Fearness pushing under the tower here. Is FPX, they're pushing with the Baron, right? They're buying themselves space. Maybe they can get a tower, but realistically, they're looking towards the Elder Drake. It's up in 45 seconds. Moonfall, it's only on to Doinb though. Shadow just has to back away, whirling death across the squad as well. And guess what? They've got a Croc pushing in the bottom side.
Yeah, we see Xiye flash out of the Moonfall, but Doinb just doesn't even care. He's fine to stay in it. Not worried about those Medjai stacks, and it kind of feels like that's LGD's engage. You know, the Moonfall's down, so they're not going to be able to team fight, and FPX want to take one.
Lwx doesn't care. He just gets pulled in. The full combo out of Fearness, and Lwx is like, dude, I'm Alistar. What are you going to do? Like, even your true damage can't kill me. Just wanders away from it. Mid-inhib taken. FPX, they're just walking this one home. This is looking simple. This is looking easy for them. Now onto another tower. Shadow forced away. This will be a second inhib. They could go for Elder. They could try and end. Looks like they're going to go for the safer option.
Yeah, play slow, spend that gold. I think they might move over the Elder, have a couple of people reset just so they can spend. They want to ensure they have that gold advantage that's represented at the top of the screen, 7,500. And LGD, you know, if they're burning the Moonfall, they're burning the Showstopper before like the fight really even kicks off, they're going to be in for a bad time. And right now, the gold discrepancy is absolutely massive. The item discrepancy as well. It's hard to imagine LGD coming out ahead here, but they have to try. It's a flashless Xiye. His GA is not yet up. It is a window to potentially punish. They need to take out one of these backliners and quickly.
Maybe it's possible if they can find that pick. Xiye. Still only 3 items, but look, 3 items is good enough to kill an AD carry that doesn't have flash, that doesn't have a GA. It's doable on this LeBlanc. He's just got to find that window. XiaoLaohu moving in. Will be rooted up, or in fact doesn't even get rooted by Xiye. Now they found a pick in the mid lane. It's Mark as the target. Fate's call. Saves Mark's life, but realistically, he's so low on HP. Has to go back to the fountain. FPX, they just want to hit the Nexus right now. Sword Elder Dragon. We don't want to lose the game with a 50-50. We'll just end things instead. There's a fight on the backside of things, but it's Tian in a 1v1 with the enemy mid laner, and he's winning right now. This is not how it's meant to go. Shadow goes in, but it's a Moonfall only onto 1. Sure, they go 1-for-1. Both junglers go down, but FPX are more than happy with that trade. Without Moonfall, there's not a whole lot LGD can do. I think FPX might try and end things here. Hook comes in from Mark. In goes everyone. Knockups across everybody, but Fearness is headbutted away. Zhonya's comes out from Doinb. He flashes out to safety, dodges the hook himself. Fearness cannot do the damage. He goes down to Xiye, and in the meantime, it's XiaoLaohu taking everybody out. Double kills for each of the rookies, and FPX, against all odds, take game 1.
Honestly, did not expect it with the 2 substitutions coming in, but clearly these rookies performing well in this game. FPX weren't necessarily the smarter team on the map. They didn't necessarily play the map better, but in the fights, they delivered. And it felt like, despite the fact they had 2 new players coming in, they knew exactly what to do, and they found those windows again and again. And it's kind of frustrating for LGD, because you look at that game and you're like, okay, what went wrong? It's like, well, the team fights. And it's like, it's so hard to just like turn a switch and be like, okay, let's do team fights better. You can go after that game and go, okay, you know, FPX can look at, right, well, they did this, they prioritized that, they moved their members here, they did this trade. But when it comes to teamfight execution, I feel like their options are either draft better teamfight champions or just get good. And those are not necessarily, the first one's not too hard, but the second one is pretty tricky to do between game 1 and game 2.
I don't know. I've seen it plenty on Korean advice forums, so it's worked for them. Surely it'll work. And just look at the support difference in damage, right? 17,000 to 5,000 marks. Got to start pulling
insane.
his weight here.
But Lwx not really pulling his weight. This is going to ruin his stats, by the way.
I know. I mean, like, Lwx's stats already suck because of Senna, and now he's playing Alistar. Like, Lwx's stats are unusable for the rest of the split now.
Yeah, they're just complete. It's just not helping at all. But, you know, still really solid performance. I think Doinb, we've seen a lot of him on things like the Kled, playing these melee skirmishes in the meta. But with the buff to Mage Mythics, we are going to see a bit of a resurgence, especially since there's less AP junglers to play, and he's proving he can still very much deliver on these mages. Monstrous on the Orianna in that game, and I know there's a lot of attention on the other members in this one, and that's the thing, is that because they were focusing down Xiye, because the Renekton was such a disruption, we often saw Doinb just completely untouched in the fights, doing a huge amount of damage, great shockwaves as well.
And it feels like Orianna's one of those champions. First off, that Doinb plays exceptionally well. We've seen it a lot, especially this year. We've seen a lot of his Orianna. But a lot of the damage feels invisible. A lot of teams don't notice Orianna damage when it's outside of the shockwave. The ball moving around in amongst these crazy, chaotic fights. You don't really see Orianna as the big threat that quite often she ends up being. And Doinb proving that, being the super carry that we know he is deep down. We're going to jump into a break, and we'll see if LGD can pull themselves together, or if this weakened version of FPX